Hey, what's going on, guys? So I wanted to make a video and I wanted to talk a little bit about open carry. Alright, so what we're looking at here is my Glock 19 and I have an open carry holster here. Alright, and I also have a dual magazine holster for my offside here. These are from Armored Guard. All right, Pete from the Army channel, OG YouTuber, has been making these for a long time now. He's my go-to guy. He did an excellent job. I really wanted a outside the waistband open carry holster that would specifically take this Nightcore light, which I love. I love this thing. This is the NPL 25GL. I have a whole video on this light. I think it's fantastic, and I wanted to always have this light with this particular gun. So it's a little bit of an odd, light. It's not super common. I mean, I guess, there's like lights that are just way more popular. And this one, although there's plenty of people who use them, it's not as popular. So it's a little bit harder to find, companies that will have that combination. But anyway, these are all in Kydex, but it has that leather kind of, texturing to it, which is super cool. These also have adjustment points as well for retention. Just really nice, nicely done. So why did I get these? I don't open carry. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of open carry. I think that it really comes down to situations. So I will say this, like, the reason I got this stuff is because I have to go for qualifying for something, and I will talk all about that in the future. It's not for today's video, but I have to have outside the waistband holster, for what I'm doing. But when I got these from Pete, I figured, even outside of what my main purpose for these are, it'd be nice to have an outside the waistband holster for when I'm on private property. All right, so like I will go on, in the woods, anytime I'm in the woods doing anything like that, I like to open carry. I usually have a chest rig. All right, I have a chest rig for two different guns. I have it for my Glock 19, which sits right in the middle of my chest. It's what is preferred for, like, let's say, if you're hunting, especially big game or something, if you get attacked, by a grizzly bear or a moose or something, you want just immediate access to your firearm. Having it inside your waistband or having it in your bag or something, that could be the difference of life or death. There was a story not too long ago of a person who had not only a shotgun, but also a pistol in a bag. I think it was either a side-by-side or a quad or something like that. I forget the details, but it was a bear, it was a grizzly or brown bear attack, and the bear was right up on him. He had no time to get that gun. I think he survived in the end. I forget what happened, but yeah, I mean, it was right there, but he just couldn't get to it. So the chest rig has always been my go-to, but I can't wear my neck knife or anything like that. Not that it's a huge deal, but I wanted to have the option to have an outside the waistband with, spare magazines as well for that situation. If I'm out just, in the middle of nowhere, which sometimes I do. Sometimes I go up in the middle of nowhere, in the woods or whatever, no one's around. I don't care about open carry without other people. It's really for wildlife, that's all. It's just for self-defense against predatory animals. I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania, so I don't have a ton of predatory animals. Thank God we don't have brown bear or grizzly or anything like that. Black bear, it would be rare. They would be a threat, but it does happen. It's not impossible. Plus, we do have wild cats, lynx and stuff. I'm pretty sure I have footage. It's not conclusive, but it looks like a mountain lion. We're not supposed to have mountain lion in our area, but there's been sightings here and there, some rogue ones maybe. Who knows? But all I'm saying is that it's always possible. And it's not just that. You can have just a rabid animal that's just acting weird or maybe causes a threat to you. And normally, it's not going to be life-threatening, but you still don't want to get bit by something. Even if it's not rabid. Even if you have just, like, I don't know, you bump into, like, a fox or something. You don't get bit by a fox. I don't want to get bit by a squirrel. That freaks me out, the idea that a squirrel would bite me. Not to say I'm going to use a gun to get a squirrel off me. I'll probably just grab its tail and fling it. But you know what I'm saying, right? So you never know what scenario is going to happen, and it's just good to be armed. But yeah, open carry versus concealed carry. When I first got I started carrying a gun, I open carried because I didn't know any better, and the town that I lived in, it wasn't really a problem. There's a handful of dudes, maybe like 2 or 3 that I knew that open carried in town. Just something I noticed occasionally, didn't really give much thought to it. But once I got my first gun, my very first gun was from my grandfather. It was inherited after he passed away. It was the Beretta Bobcat 21. It's a 22 semi-automatic pistol. I love the gun, but it's not something I wanted to carry. So the second I got into that, when I had the gun, it made me interested in guns. And I went out and I bought my first gun, the first gun I've actually bought myself and owned, which was a Glock 17. And I open carried it for all of maybe 3 months. And after 3 months of getting negative attention, having the police called on me, I decided to conceal carry, and I never looked back. I never opened carry in public again. So I know the immediate question is, oh, the police, we want to hear that story. I think I've told that story before, but same deal. I had my chest rig on, which is very old. I got that rig on when I was exercising. I was walking around the block. I had multiple people, like 3 or 4 people, who saw me walking down the road with a gun on my chest, call the police. And police rolled up. I think it was 2 squad cars from different directions. And that was kind of a weird, because I really didn't know. Maybe I was just dumb, ignorant to the situation. I'm like, what's going on? And cop got out and approached very cautiously. He didn't have his gun drawn or anything like that, but came up to me and said, hi, how you doing, sir? And I said, hey, what's going on? And he said, oh, we had a couple calls, people concerned that you're walking around with a gun. And I kind of laughed a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm just exercising, but I can't carry a gun in, shorts in the middle of summer. So he's like, no, I understand, but, I just want to make sure everything's okay and, there's nothing going on. I'm like, no, I'm literally just exercising. I'm sorry people felt uncomfortable. I said, it's kind of not my problem. And he's like, no, I agree. The cop was, he was wonderful. He totally understood. He said, look, these people call, we have to come check it out. And he's like, do you have a concealed carry permit? And I said, I'm open carrying. He said, oh, yeah, no, I understand. I'm just asking. I'm like, actually, I do. It's on me. And I show it to him. He's like, okay. He's like, I understand, need one to open carry how you are. And he kind of asked me, low key, can you just go home or just take the gun off? You know what I mean? Don't exercise with a gun. And I did it just because I'm always thinking, because I've seen black bear multiple times when I was walking around the block and exercising and stuff. And I just thought, hey, what if? And it didn't register to me that it's not normal. It's not common. So eventually I started carrying the gun in a fanny pack, and sometimes I'd crossbody it or I'd wear it, around the waist and stuff. I did that just for convenience. So it's weird because you have these laws. I could legally walk down the street with a chest rig and a gun exposed. I can legally walk down with a rifle if I want. I can have an AK-47 on my back and walk down the street. It's my right to do that. However, as you've seen with many, many videos of people trying to do this, the cops will still come. They will still, in some cases harass you. In some cases, they're not trying to harass you, but they have to do their job. They have to show up and ask who you are and what's going on, all that kind of stuff. I'm not here to cause problems or panic anyone. Now, it's interesting to me because you could legally carry a gun down the street, but you can also still get a ticket for, disturbing the peace, let's say. There's other ways around it to get people to stop doing that. So, again, I'm not trying to cause any friction. I'm not trying to make anyone comfortable. I didn't really think much about it. And that was my bad experience that made me decide that, hey, you know what? I still got to carry a gun, but no one has to know about it. It'll just be my little secret. And so then I carried concealed. So, but I know some people still like carrying open carry. And again, it's very situational. Certain areas of the country, it's not common. It's not seen ever. So when someone does it, it becomes shocking. And, you do have to go through those hassles. And just because something's your right to do it doesn't necessarily mean you should. If you don't mind going through that hassle of people calling the cops on you constantly, I guess, you do you. But that's not me. I don't want to cause problems. I really don't. I really don't want the attention. I know when people talk about open carry, a lot of people's, reaction to it is, well, you're going to be a target, of course. Let's say someone wants to rob the gas station. And before they walk in, they see you walk in with your open carry 1911 or something. And so the idea is that, well, they're just going to go and shoot you first. So you can't shoot them, then they'll rob the place. Realistically, in the real world, what's probably going to happen is someone was going to rob that 7-Eleven and they saw you with a gun and they just went somewhere else and robbed a different gas station. That's real life. Not to say it's impossible, but most people who are robbing gas stations aren't trying to hurt people. They're desperate. A lot of times they're drug addicts and they just want money. Sometimes they'll rob a store with a gun with no ammo. You know, half the time they don't even know how to use a gun. You know what I mean? So, like, they don't want to hurt people most times. Yes, there's always those exceptions where someone's crazy and they kill everyone there. But you have to look at, like, real life and real statistics. They don't want a problem. They want to get in, get a bunch of money, and leave. That's their goal. They don't want to get a murder charge either, by the way. Even, like, lifelong criminals. They're not dumb. They don't want to shoot anyone and kill them, and now, great, now, you know, because you get a slap on the wrist these days for, you know, robbing a gas station, but, you know, you kill someone, that's a whole different story. So they don't want that. So it could be argued that open carry actually dissuades crime and probably keeps you out of those bad situations. But that's, again, just a guess. We'll never really know. I'd rather have the tactical advantage of no one knowing I have a gun. So if someone was intending to rob someplace that I am, it would be a surprise. And just because I have a gun doesn't mean I would have to stop the situation and be a hero. It's very, very, very important to know that. Just because you're concealed carrying and you see a situation go down, like a robbery or something, it doesn't mean you have to get involved. It also doesn't mean that your life is immediately in danger. It's important to think about these things. I would say maybe 99 out of 100 times when someone robs a gas station, they get the money, they leave. That's it, right? If you're in a gas station that's getting robbed and you're concealed carrying and you see, okay, well, there's a guy and he's pointing a gun at the, cashier and they're taking the money out, you might feel the need to draw your weapon and tell them to put the gun down, and they don't, and then you shoot them and kill them, and that's it. Now you're a hero, right? That's not a good mentality to have. If you really don't think that you're about to die, you really shouldn't even touch your gun. You should probably let them rob the store and leave. You know what I mean? That's like the right thing to do. You don't want that to happen. You know, so it's hard because people who carry guns, I mean, you should be thinking about all these different types of scenarios. I do all the time. And I try to be realistic about things. I don't want to escalate a situation. I don't want to make someone hurt someone else because I got involved. Does that make sense? Just like if you're concealed carrying, let's say, and someone holds a gun to your back. Hey, give me all your money. Give me your wallet. Give me your watch, whatever. Do you really think that you're going to successfully just take your gun out and shoot them and that's it? A lot of those times, you're probably going to fail and just die. You know, they have the upper hand. They have a probably loaded gun already pointed at you. And even though they don't want to shoot you, they probably will because they're dumb. The fact that they're even robbing you with a gun is dumb. So you're dealing with very unintelligent people, very greedy, selfish people that act, aggressively and, erratically. They're not being rational in the first place, so they could accidentally shoot you and, ruin your life and ruin their life if they get caught, of course. So, like, there's so many situations you have to really, really think about. So my question to you guys is, do you open carry or do you conceal carry? I'm assuming most people are going to comment and say, no, I conceal carry, I would never open carry. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not always appropriate. I think open carry is fantastic for convenience, again, when you're on private property, if you're on a farm or something, or there's a decent chunk of property. If you live in a suburban area and you have a 3/4 acre lot and your neighbor hates you, open carrying in your backyard is probably just going to cause some trouble. I'm not saying you can't do it. Yeah, I'm sure you have a legal right to do it. It's just one of those things where, do you want to just go and cause friction when it's unnecessary? There's no right or wrong answer here, but I am curious for the people who do open carry, why? Like, where do you do it and why? No one's going to admit this either. And I'm not suggesting anyone watching this is like this, but the fact is, there are definitely people who own guns and open carry them for intimidation. It makes them feel like powerful people. Like they walk around and their head's high and they have this like kind of macho alpha, douche kind of attitude. And it's like, I have a gun. Like, what are you going to argue with me? I have a gun. You know what I mean? Like, those people exist too. Not every gun owner is a great person. Just because you bought a gun has absolutely no relation to what kind of person you are or your morals or scruples or whether you're a jerk or not. So there's definitely people who carry for intimidation and makes them feel like a badass. That's really all it is. And obviously that's not cool. There's no way to stop that. That's their right if they want. There's no laws against, being a jerk. But that exists too. And truthfully, those are the kinds of guys who sometimes cause problems and they make something out of nothing. Not all gun owners are great people. That's all. But anyway, that's it. In the future, I will talk about, again, why I got this initially. And that'll be interesting. But right now, I'm kind of in the middle of it. Don't want to bring it up or anything like that. But it was a mandatory thing, and I wanted to use this particular gun, and I did not have anything other than the chest rig, and the chest rig won't work for what I'm doing. It has to be this style. And again, I mean, some of you guys maybe can guess, but most of you are like, what the hell are you talking about, Jeff? You'll hear. In the future, when everything's settled and done and over with, I will discuss it a little bit further. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Shout out to Pete, man. He is the man. He does great work. You know, happy to be his friend. He really is just a nice guy. And I wish I had more time to travel and stuff. I'd love to go hang out with him more. Years ago, when we took that trip, went to Cabela's and stuff, I mean, I had the time of my life. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Have a good one.